My name is Nicole Chen, and I've been invisible to my family for most of my adult life. Not because I disappeared, not because I cut them off, but because I didn't follow the script they'd written for me, and in their minds, that made me irrelevant. I grew up in Westchester County, New York. Upper middle class suburb. Good schools. College expectations. My parents, both immigrants who'd built successful careers in finance, had very specific ideas about what success looked like. My older sister, Jennifer, followed that script perfectly. Dartmouth undergrad. Columbia MBA. Management consulting at McKinsey. Married a hedge fund manager. 2 kids. House in Greenwich. The whole package. I was supposed to follow the same path. Instead, I went to NYU for computer science. My parents were disappointed but acceptant. Tech was at least respectable. Then I dropped out junior year to join a startup. That's when I became the family embarrassment. "You're throwing your life away," Mom said when I told them. "Jennifer would never be this reckless." "Jennifer isn't me," I replied. "Clearly," Dad said. The disapproval was obvious. The startup was called Dataflow. We built enterprise data analytics software. I was employee number 7, brought on as a junior developer. The pay was terrible, $45,000 a year in New York City. I lived with 3 roommates in a tiny apartment in Queens, ate ramen most nights, and worked 80-hour weeks. My family thought I was insane. Jennifer would call occasionally, always with the same condescending tone. "Still playing tech entrepreneur? When are you going to get a real job?" This is a real job. I mean a stable job. With benefits. A career path. I stopped taking her calls after a while. The thing about startups is that most of them fail. Everyone knows this. My family certainly reminded me of it constantly. They were waiting for me to crash and burn, to come crawling back and beg for help getting a real corporate job. What they didn't know was that Dataflow wasn't failing. We were growing. Fast. By year 2, I'd been promoted to senior developer. By year 3, I was leading the product development team. By year 4, I negotiated a compensation package that included significant equity. When I was 27, Dataflow got acquired by a major tech corporation for $340 million. My equity stake was worth $8.2 million after taxes. I didn't tell my family. I kept living in Queens. Kept dressing casually. Kept my lifestyle modest. But I also started investing aggressively, real estate in Brooklyn index funds, angel investments in other startups. The acquiring company wanted to keep the team intact. They offered me a VP position, Vice President of Product Innovation. Salary, $285,000 base, plus bonus, plus additional equity in the parent company. I accepted. At 28 years old, I was a tech executive with a 7-figure net worth and a title that opened doors across the industry. My family still thought I was struggling at a startup. Because I never corrected them. Never posted on social media about my success. Never showed up to family events in designer clothes or expensive cars. I just lived my life quietly. The invisibility was partly strategic. I'd watched Jennifer perform her success for years. The constant social media updates, the designer handbags, the humble brags about her husband's bonus. It seemed exhausting, but it was also a test. I wanted to see if my family could value me for who I was, not what I achieved. I wanted to know if they'd ever ask about my life with genuine interest, not just judgment. They never did. Family dinners became painful. Jennifer would dominate conversations with stories about her consulting projects, her children's private school, her husband's latest investment wins. Mom and Dad would beam with pride. When they bothered to ask about me at all, it was perfunctory. Still at that startup? Actually, it got acquired. I work for. That's nice. Jennifer, tell us more about the Hamptons house you're looking at. I stopped attending family dinners regularly. Made excuses. Work commitments. Travel. After a while, they stopped expecting me, which made the Thanksgiving invitation and subsequent uninvitation particularly revealing. The call came 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. "Nicole, it's Mom." "Hi, Mom. So, about Thanksgiving. We need to talk." I waited. Jennifer is bringing someone very special this year. Someone important. She's been dating this wonderful man, David something, I forget his last name, and he's quite accomplished. Works in tech, actually. Some big company. She really wants to impress him. Okay. And your father and I were thinking, maybe it would be better if you sat this one out.
Silence.
You want me to skip Thanksgiving? It's not that we don't want you there, sweetheart. It's just, Jennifer's nervous about David meeting the family. She wants everything to be perfect. And you know how you are. How am I? Well, you're still at that startup phase. The tech thing. It's not very impressive. And David is so accomplished. Jennifer's worried it might be awkward if he asks about your career, and you have to explain that you're still, struggling. The words hit like a slap. I'm not struggling, Mom. Of course not, honey. But compared to Jennifer's success, to David's position, you can understand how it might look. Dad's voice came through in the background. Just tell her she doesn't fit anymore. Be direct, Susan. Mom sighed. Your father thinks you just don't fit with the direction our family gatherings have taken. More professional. More polished. You understand. I understood perfectly. So, I'm uninvited. We're just asking you to sit this one out. Let Jennifer have her moment. Maybe next year. I could have argued. Could have told them exactly how successful I was. Could have listed my title, my salary, my net worth. Instead, I said one word. Understood. I hung up. Then I sat in my apartment, a nice 2-bedroom in Park Slope I'd bought with cash the year before, and made a decision. If my family wanted me invisible, I'd stay invisible. Right up until the moment it cost them everything. I didn't tell them I wouldn't be coming. They'd already uninvited me. But I did make some calls. The first was to my assistant, Rachel. I need you to pull the file on our recent hires. Specifically, anyone named David hired in the last 3 months.
Sure.
What department? Start with product and engineering. Mid to senior level. She called back 20 minutes later. Found 3 Davids. 1 in DevOps, 1 in engineering, 1 in product management. Want me to send details? Just product management. The file arrived in my email. I opened it. David Morrison. Age 31. Previously at Amazon. Hired 6 weeks ago as senior product manager. Reporting structure. Reports to VP of Product Innovation.
Reports to me.
I stared at the organizational chart. David Morrison's name in a box, with a line leading up to my name. My sister was dating my direct report, and she had no idea. The second call was to my executive assistant at work. Hey, Marcus. I need a favor. That new PM who started in October, David Morrison. Can you check if he's mentioned anything about Thanksgiving plans? That's kind of personal, Nicole. I know. Just trust me on this. Marcus called back an hour later. He mentioned to his team lead that he's having Thanksgiving with his girlfriend's family. Said he's nervous about meeting them. Apparently, they're very successful, and he wants to make a good impression. Did he say where? Westchester somewhere. That's all I got. I thanked him and hung up. So David was nervous about impressing Jennifer's successful family. The family that had uninvited me for not being impressive enough. The irony was almost beautiful. I could have reached out to David directly. Could have warned him. Could have told Jennifer who I really was. But where was the drama in that? Instead, I decided to let Thanksgiving play out naturally. I wouldn't attend. I'd been uninvited after all. But I'd be ready for the aftermath. Because I knew exactly how this would end. The week before Thanksgiving, I ran into Jennifer at Mom and Dad's house. I'd stopped by to drop off a birthday gift for Dad. His birthday was the week after Thanksgiving, and I knew I wouldn't see him then. Jennifer was there with her kids, visiting for the afternoon. Nicole. She seemed surprised to see me. I thought you'd be working. Dropped by with a gift for Dad.
Oh.
That's nice. Mom appeared from the kitchen. Looked uncomfortable. Nicole, honey, I didn't know you were coming. Just dropping something off. I'm not staying. Good, Dad said, walking in from the living room. We're discussing Thanksgiving plans. Since you won't be there. Jennifer's face showed fake sympathy. I'm sorry you can't make it this year. I know Mom explained about David. She did. He's just so important to me. I really want his first impression of the family to be perfect.
I'm sure it will be.
He works in tech, actually. Senior position at some big company. I forget which one. He's very accomplished. I nodded. Sounds impressive. Much more stable than startups, Dad added pointedly. I let it go. Handed Dad his gift. Said my goodbyes.
Left.
As I walked to my car, I heard Jennifer inside. She seems fine with missing Thanksgiving. Honestly, it's better this way. David would have asked her about work, and then we'd have to explain the whole startup thing. So embarrassing. I sat in my car for a moment, breathed deeply. Then I drove back to Brooklyn and prepared for the most satisfying Thanksgiving of my life. Thanksgiving Day arrived cold and clear. I spent the morning in my apartment, made myself a simple breakfast, went for a run in Prospect Park, came back and worked on some product specs for a Monday meeting. Around 2 p.m., my phone started buzzing. First message was from David Morrison. David. Hi Nicole, sorry to bother you on the holiday. Quick question about the Q4 roadmap before I present it to my girlfriend's family. They're all business people, and I want to sound informed. Can I call you later this week? I stared at the message.
He still didn't know.
Still had no idea his girlfriend's embarrassing sister was his boss. I replied simply, Nicole, enjoy your Thanksgiving, David. We can discuss Monday. The next message came at 4:47 p.m.
Mom. Calling.
I let it ring. She called again. Then Dad. Then Jennifer. I turned my phone to silent and made myself a cup of tea. The messages started piling up. Mom. Nicole, call me. Emergency.
Dad. We need to talk. Now.
Jennifer. What the hell, Nicole?
You knew?
You knew, and you didn't tell me? I waited until 6 p.m. before I called Mom back. She answered on the first ring. Nicole Chin, you have some explaining to do. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Mom. Don't. Just don't. Did you know Jennifer's boyfriend works for you? I do employ a lot of people, Mom. Hard to keep track of everyone. He's your direct report. He told us. He showed us the org chart on his phone. Your name right above his.
Oh.
David. Yes, he's a great hire. Very talented. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That you're a vice president. That you work at a major tech company. That you make, she stopped. He showed us salary bands for VPs at your company. Nicole, is that accurate? I don't discuss compensation, Mom. The range he showed us was $250,000 to $400,000 base salary. Sounds about right for the industry. Silence. Then, you've been letting us think you were struggling.
No, Mom.
You've been assuming I was struggling. I never said I was. But you never corrected us. You never asked. You never showed any interest in my actual life. You just decided I was a failure because I didn't follow Jennifer's path. Dad's voice came through. He'd grabbed the phone. This is unacceptable, Nicole. You humiliated your sister. I humiliated her? You uninvited me from Thanksgiving because I'd embarrassed the family in front of her accomplished boyfriend.
Turned out he works for me.
I failed to see how that's my fault. You should have told us.
Why?
So you could parade me around once you knew I was successful? Where was that energy when you thought I was just a struggling startup employee? No response. That's what I thought. How's dinner going, by the way? Mom took the phone back. Her voice was strained. It's been awkward. David keeps asking where you are. He wanted to talk shop with you, apparently. You're his boss, and he was excited to spend the holiday with you. I wasn't invited, remember? Nicole. I'm going to go, Mom. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. The one I didn't fit into. I hung up. The messages continued throughout the evening. Jennifer.
Mom. Dad.
Even David sent an apologetic text. David, I'm so sorry. I had no idea they'd excluded you. If I'd known, I would have insisted you be here. This is incredibly awkward. I finally responded at 8 p.m. Nicole, not your fault, David.
See you Monday.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Saturday morning, Jennifer showed up at my apartment. I'd been expecting her. She looked terrible, eyes red from crying. hair pulled back messily, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater. Can I come in? I stepped aside. My apartment is nice. Not flashy, but nice. Hardwood floors. Exposed brick. High ceilings. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the park. Furniture from CB2 and West Elm. Art on the walls. Real art, not posters. Jennifer looked around. This place is really nice. Thanks. How much is rent? I don't rent. I own it. Her face went pale. You own this apartment. Bought it 2 years ago.
Cash.
She sat down heavily on my couch. I don't understand. How, when? The startup got acquired 5 years ago. I did well. Really well. Been investing since then. Working my way up at the acquiring company. Mom said you're VP. Vice President of Product Innovation. And David reports to you. He does. She put her face in her hands. This is the most humiliating thing that's ever happened to me. More humiliating than uninviting your sister from Thanksgiving because she'd embarrass you? I didn't, she stopped. Okay, I did. But I thought you were still struggling. I thought I was protecting David from an awkward conversation about startup failures. You thought you were protecting yourself from being associated with my failure. She didn't deny it. We sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Jennifer spoke. When did you get so successful? I've been building this for years, Jen. You just never paid attention. You never told us. You never asked. Every family dinner, every phone call, every interaction, it was always about you. Your job, your husband, your kids, your success. When did you ever ask about my life with genuine interest? I ask sometimes. Still at that startup? Isn't asking with interest. It's asking with judgment. She flinched. Do you know what it's like? I continued. To be invisible to your own family? To have your parents introduce you as our other daughter, while they spend an hour talking about your sister's accomplishments? To be uninvited from Thanksgiving because you don't fit the image? I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you just embarrassed that your boyfriend found out your struggling sister is actually more successful than you are? That's not fair. Isn't it? David couldn't stop talking about me at dinner, apparently. Mom said he was impressed by the product roadmap I'd developed, by the team I'd built. Said he felt lucky to work for me. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears.
He did.
He went on and on about what an innovative leader you are. How you've transformed the product division. How everyone at the company respects you. Must have been awkward.
It was mortifying.
Mom and Dad just sat there. They didn't know what to say. They'd spent years telling everyone you were the disappointing daughter. And now they realize they don't know you at all. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the park. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, Jen, but I'm also not going to keep shrinking myself to make you feel bigger. I never asked you to do that. You did. Every time you introduced me as just at a startup. Every time you changed the subject when someone asked about my work. Every time you made it clear my path wasn't as valid as yours. She was crying now, full tears.
I'm sorry, Nicole.
I really am. I was so caught up in competing, in being the successful one, that I never saw what you were actually accomplishing. Because you never looked. I know. I turned back to her. What did David say? After he realized. He was confused at first. Kept asking where you were. When Mom finally admitted they'd uninvited you, he was horrified. Said it was inappropriate to exclude family. Asked why they'd done it. And Dad said something about you not fitting in with the professional atmosphere they wanted. David asked what I did for a living. When I said consulting, he nodded. Then he asked what your role was. Mom tried to dodge, but Dad just blurted out that you worked in tech. Jennifer paused, took a shaky breath. David said, "Oh, she must work at one of the startups around here." Dad said yes, something like that. Then David pulled out his phone to show them the cool tech company he works for. Showed them the org chart to explain his role. And there I was. Right above him. Reports to Nicole Chen, VP of Product Innovation. He stared at it for a full minute, then looked at Mom and Dad, then at me, then said, "Wait, Nicole Chen is your daughter? Your sister? Despite everything, I almost smiled. What did you say? I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. David asked where you were. Mom said you couldn't make it. David said he'd sent you a message earlier and you'd said to enjoy Thanksgiving. Then he realized you weren't there because they hadn't invited you. How'd he figure it out? He asked directly. Did you uninvite her? Dad got defensive. Started saying it was complicated. David just stood up. Said he appreciated the invitation, but this was inappropriate. He left. Walked right out. Called an Uber. Texted me an hour later that he needed space to think about whether he wanted to date someone whose family would exclude people based on perceived success levels. The weight of that hit me.
Yan, I'm sorry.
I didn't mean for.
Don't.
Don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. We did. She wiped her eyes. I did. Where do we go from here? I don't know. I want to fix this. I want to know my sister.
The real you.
Not the version I invented in my head. I sat back down. That's going to require you to actually ask about my life.
To listen when I talk.
To value me for who I am, not what I've achieved. I can do that. Can you? Because the achievement part cuts both ways. You can't resent me for being successful any more than you could dismiss me for supposedly failing. She nodded slowly. You're right. And Mom and Dad? They're devastated. They've been calling me nonstop, asking how they fix this. They fix it by apologizing. Actually apologizing. And by recognizing that they've spent years making me feel worthless because I didn't follow their script. I'll tell them. Sunday evening, my parents showed up at my apartment. I'd told Jennifer they could come by. I wasn't ready to forgive everything, but I was willing to talk. Mom hugged me at the door. Started crying immediately. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Dad looked older somehow. Tired. We sat in my living room. The living room they'd never seen before because they'd never visited my home. This is a beautiful place, Mom said quietly. Thank you. How long have you lived here? 2 years. We didn't know. You never asked. The silence was heavy. Dad spoke first. We failed you. As parents. We failed you. I didn't disagree. We got so caught up in the idea of success we knew, prestigious schools, corporate careers, traditional paths, that we couldn't see the success you were building.
Couldn't see you.
You saw what you wanted to see? I said. A daughter who disappointed you by not following the script. Mom was crying again. That's not true. Isn't it? When was the last time you introduced me to someone without apologizing for my career choices? She couldn't answer. When was the last time you asked about my work because you were genuinely interested, not because you felt obligated? Silence. When was the last time you made me feel like I mattered to this family? Dad's voice broke. Nicole, please. We know we were wrong. We know we hurt you. But you're our daughter. You've always mattered. Have I? Because it didn't feel like it when you uninvited me from Thanksgiving. It felt like I was an embarrassment you needed to hide. We were fools, he said simply. Old fools who couldn't see what was right in front of us. Mom reached for my hand. Can you forgive us? I didn't answer right away. Let the question sit. Finally. I don't know. Maybe. But forgiveness requires change. Real change. Not just apologizing, because you found out I'm successful. What do you mean? I mean, if I'd shown up to this conversation and told you I was still at a startup making $45,000 a year, would you still be apologizing? Or would you still think you were right to exclude me? The question landed hard. That's not, Mom started. Be honest. She closed her eyes. I don't know. I'd like to think I'd still see how wrong we were. But I don't know. At least it was honest. That's the work you need to do, I said. You need to figure out why you valued Jennifer over me. Why achievement mattered more than character. Why image mattered more than family. Dad nodded slowly. You're right. I know I am. We talked for another hour. They asked about my work, real questions, not judgment. Asked about my life, my apartment, my plans. For the first time in years, I felt seen. It wasn't fixed. Not even close. But it was a start. Monday morning, David Morrison knocked on my office door. Got a minute? Of course.
Come in. He sat down.
Looked uncomfortable. I want to apologize for the Thanksgiving disaster. Not your fault, David. I should have known. Should have asked more questions about Jennifer's family. When she mentioned her sister worked in tech, I should have. You had no reason to connect the dots. It's okay. Is it? Because I walked out on Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm pretty sure I'm about to get dumped because of it. I leaned back in my chair. Can I give you some advice? Not as your boss, but as someone who knows that family. Please. Jennifer is used to being the successful one, the accomplished one, the one everyone admires. Learning that her embarrassing sister is actually her boyfriend's boss, that's threatening to her identity. That's not your fault. No, but it's reality. If you want to date her, you need to decide if you can handle a partner who struggles with other people's success, particularly her own sister's. He was quiet for a moment. Is it always like this with them? The competitiveness? The image obsession?
Yeah.
Pretty much. How do you deal with it? I stopped trying to fit in. Built my own life. Let them think what they wanted. That's kind of genius, actually. I smiled. Or kind of sad, depending on how you look at it. For what it's worth, he said, everyone here thinks you're brilliant. I was excited when I found out I'd be working for you. I've heard the stories about how you transformed the product division. Thanks, David. I mean it. You're exactly the kind of leader I wanted to learn from. After he left, I sat at my desk and looked out at the Manhattan skyline. I'd built this. Not for my family's approval, not to prove them wrong, but for myself. And that success, that quiet, private success, was worth more than all of Jennifer's performed achievements combined. Jennifer and David broke up 3 weeks after Thanksgiving. He tried, but she couldn't get past the resentment. Couldn't handle that I'd succeeded in a field she dismissed as unstable. She started therapy, though. Started working on understanding why she needed to be the best, why she couldn't celebrate other people's wins. It's a process. Mom and Dad visit me once a month now. Come to Brooklyn, have dinner at my apartment, ask about my work. They're trying. Some days it feels genuine. Some days it feels like they're still performing, trying to prove they're good parents now that they know I'm successful. But they're trying. That counts for something. I got promoted 6 months ago. Senior Vice President. I now oversee 3 product divisions. My compensation package includes equity that will vest over the next 4 years. If it all works out, I'll be worth over $20 million by the time I'm 35.
My family knows this now.
I don't hide my success anymore. But I also don't perform it. Don't post about it on social media. Don't show up to family events dripping in designer labels. I just live.
Build. Create.
Last month, Jennifer called me. Asked if I wanted to get coffee. We met at a place in Manhattan, halfway between our neighborhoods. She looked different. Softer somehow. Less armored. I've been thinking, she said. About Thanksgiving. About everything. Yeah. I spent so much of my life competing with you that I never tried to know you. Never tried to be your sister. No, you didn't. I'd like to try now. If you'll let me. I looked at her. Saw something I hadn't seen in years. Genuine vulnerability. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try. We're not there yet. Not even close. But we talk now. Real conversations. About work, life, struggles, wins. She tells me about her therapy insights. I tell her about product launches and team challenges. It's awkward sometimes. We're learning how to be sisters instead of competitors. But it's something. David sends me an email every few months. Updates on his career. He moved to a different company, said working for his ex-girlfriend's sister was too weird. I understood. We stay in touch professionally. The Thanksgiving story became legendary in my family. The time Nicole's success was revealed in the most awkward way possible. They tell it at gatherings now, sometimes with embarrassment, sometimes with pride. I let them tell it however they want. Because here's what I learned. You can't control how people see you. You can't force them to value you. You can't make them choose you when they'd rather choose image over substance. But you can build something so undeniable that even the people who dismissed you can't ignore it anymore. You can create success on your own terms. You can prove to yourself, if no one else, that you were right all along. And when the moment comes that they finally see you, you can choose whether to let them in. I chose to let them try. Not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. My parents still struggle sometimes. Still compare Jennifer and me. Still slip into old patterns. But they're trying. And I'm learning to accept that growth is slow. Jennifer is learning that success isn't a competition. That my wins don't diminish hers. That we can both thrive without one of us losing. It's not perfect. It's not healed. But it's honest. And after years of being invisible, being seen, truly seen for who I actually am, that's enough. I still think about that Thanksgiving sometimes. About David's confused face when he walked in and didn't see me there. About the moment he realized his boss, the VP he admired, was the sister they'd excluded. About Jennifer's fork dropping. About my parents scrambling to understand how they'd missed my entire career trajectory. It would be easy to say it was satisfying, that I enjoyed their humiliation. But the truth is more complicated. I didn't enjoy their pain. I enjoyed, finally, being acknowledged, being seen, being valued not for what they thought I should be, but for what I'd actually become. And that validation, that quiet, hard-won validation, was worth every year of invisibility. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. And building a life so authentic, so true to yourself, that their opinion of it becomes irrelevant. I built that life. And now, whether they're in it or not, it's mine.